In this presentation, we're going to examine the way that the problem of evil plays into modern superhero films and how it answers the old question many philosophers have posed.
How the Incredibles show the source of evil seen through the worldview of Buddhism. First, here is some knowledge of the Incredibles. Syndrome is the bad guy who is the representation of evil. When Syndrome was younger, his name was Buddy, but went by Incrediboy, wanting just to be like Mr. Incredible. Incrediboy wants to help and be like Mr. Incredible so bad, but is turned down. Incrediboy shows how attached to Mr. Incredible he is by proving he is his #1 fan. Later in life, Syndrome ends up killing many other superheroes and tries to kill Mr. Incredible. The connection to the worldview of Buddhism. Buddhists live by the Four Noble Truths, which the second one is, the root of suffering is attachment. Seeing how Buddy / Incrediboy are so attached and crave Mr. Incredible's approval leads to another key point in Buddhism, which is karma. Karma is a person's actions earlier in life that determine their fate, ultimately meaning it keeps people in. Just start that point over, okay? Edit this part. Karma is a person's actions earlier in life that determine their fate, ultimately keeping people in constant dissatisfaction when they crave and cling to other things.
In Batman Begins, there are two sources of evil as portrayed in the film. One is the League of Shadows, and two is Falcone and his mobsters. The League of Shadows is a secret organization that tries to control all society, and Falcone runs Gotham City. Their intentions are to kill everyone in Gotham in order to cleanse the city and take over. The resolution is that the people of Gotham, with the help of Batman, stand up against evil. They take back Gotham City and overthrow the corrupt. This relates to Marxism. He states that the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles. The bourgeoisie versus the proletariat, which is the upper class that are small but have power, versus the big groups of number of people who are controlled. This is an example of the League of Shadows versus the city of Gotham. Marx would have also predicted the end of the movie. He states the bourgeoisie will carry the seeds of their own destruction.
In the TV show The Flash, one of the major supervillains is named Zoom. Zoom is another speedster just like Flash, which is just a person with the superhero's speed. So as a kid, Zoom had a terrible childhood. His father was a soldier who came back from war and ended up killing Zoom's mother as well as killing himself due to some form of PTSD. Zoom had no relatives that he could go to, so he ended up growing in orphanages and foster homes. And in these orphanages and foster homes, he was absolutely abused. After growing up and getting out of these systems, Zoom became a serial killer and was finally put into jail after being caught. While he was in jail, he was being put through electroshock therapy, and this is where Zoom got his powers. During his electroshock therapy, a huge particle accelerator exploded and he was hit. After receiving his powers of speed, he started to gain a thirst for wanting to be the fastest person ever and began to start fighting all the other speedsters and stealing their speeds and then killing them so they didn't have a chance of being faster than him again. Zoom's connection to Buddhism. So Zoom's desire to be the fastest person alive was one of the biggest factors that caused him to become evil. One of the major things Buddhism says is that desire is one of the biggest reasons for why someone would want to be evil. And for people not to be evil, they need to be able to drop their desires. So if Zoom were to not have this desire and didn't really care too much about being the fastest person alive, he might have actually not have been a bad guy.
In the movie Captain America, the main character's name is Steve. And he gets recruited to test out an experimental study after he gets rejected from trying to volunteer to fight in World War II with his best friend Bucky, who later becomes his enemy. After he was involved in this study, he becomes the complete opposite of himself. So he gains a lot of muscle, he becomes very strong, he gets taller, and his general abilities become more enhanced, so he can run for a longer amount of time very quickly. At the end of the movie, he crashes into basically a block of ice, and he becomes frozen. And after he becomes frozen and he wakes up in about 2010, which is 70 years later. So he has to adjust to the new life, and he has to learn all the new words and terms. Captain America, before and after he became Captain America, was very kind, honest, and brave. He tried to sacrifice his life for his other troops, which he ended up jumping on a grenade for them, which proves that he's brave and would sacrifice his life for his friends. He brings justice to the world by doing the right thing and fighting crime and protecting society in general. The only thing that remained the same in his life before and after he got frozen is that he is still Captain America and is still famous. Captain America relates a lot to Socrates because he believes in a state of mind more than physical things. So they're both honest and they have a kind sense of mentality. They both believe in justice and being good, which Socrates defines as the habit of seeking the right kind of good, which Captain America's whole life is about, seeing that he fights crime and protects people. One of the virtues that Socrates believes in is wisdom, which Captain America must do in every day of his life to learn the new things about the new times, 70 years after he was born. Another virtue he has is courage, which Captain America also shares because he tries to sacrifice his life.
The superhero Deadpool presents an interesting question between good and evil. Because he achieves good things through potentially evil means or even through neutral means, it's very hard to put him in a box for the dichotomy between good and evil. This relates to existentialism because it makes space for his actions to be acceptable as they are the result of his own will. Because he doesn't necessarily choose a side, good or evil, he's able to make whatever decisions he wants that fit into his individual paradigm. Because he's neither good nor evil, existentialist perspectives put the highest good as imbuing meaning for oneself, and he does this constantly, both in the search for his lover and his search for vengeance. While fighting evil, he commits a number of evil acts, but because the ends are preferable and necessarily good, we can't call those acts evil. He rejects the notion of determinist morals and ethics and believes he's doing right as long as he's doing what he wants. Eventually, this allows him to accomplish his overall goal of gaining vengeance and reuniting with his love. And as Sartre said, life begins on the other side of despair because of the loss of his love, because of the villains that he has to seek vengeance against. He is able to make a meaningful life out of his difficult situation through both good and evil acts. Questions of the source of evil have been asked for centuries by numerous philosophers, and it interests us that those questions remain at the heart of questions we ask even in pop culture today.